Agencies Drinking Beers brought to you by Proposify, software that helps you deliver beautiful proposals in the cloud and close more deals.
We have an interview coming up soon with Matt King from Shopify, but before we get into that, we have a second guest on the show today, and his name is Alex Plum.
The Plum Dog Millionaire, as they call me.
That's what they call him. We call him
That's
that.
what they call me.
Alex, who has long been our chief GIF officer, in addition to writing some code sometimes, he also maintains the quality of our GIFs because, you know, you've got one thing that impresses me always is that you always have the perfect gift for the perfect moment somehow at your fingertips. Like, there's not even search time.
No, it's lightning fast.
It's lightning fast, and it's incredibly appropriate. Sometimes it works on multiple levels. And we recognize this talent early on, which is why you were promoted to CGO.
That's right. The top of the company, as that the blog graphic illustrates.
So Alex just published a post, your first post on the Proposify blog.
That's right.
And the title is How I Took on the Most Challenging Role of My Life and Saved Proposify.
I don't think that's hyperbole.
It's not, eh?
No, that's not. That's
it's underselling
if anything,
it a bit.
yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Well, people need to check out this post. It's, I don't know, I giggled. I giggled profusely.
For aspiring young, GIFers
that hope to one day be a CGO.
that want to be a CGO, give them some advice.
That's what I love.
Yeah, well, the first thing is that you just need to care about your GIFs. It's not just posting just GIFs randomly,
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly, all higgledy-piggledy.
You've given 7 rules.
That's right.
So for somebody who wants to know tangibly what goes in, what do you avoid? If you're trying to stand out in your company, in your Slack channels, what do you avoid? What are the bad gifts that you see?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I posted the 7 rules in there, and my original effort was actually to create 100 rules, and then to sarcastically refer to them as these, few simple steps to, post a great GIF.
And it's just a mile of
it's just 100 rules that you need to follow to be a CGO.
I would like to see it on parchment.
Yeah,
like
I
papyrus.
just I unfurl the scroll.
Yeah,
or I have actually tablets.
Yeah, tablets.
Just like I come down from Mount Sinai with just like 20 tablets full of GIF rules.
100 tablets.
That's right. So it's very important, I think, that a GIF is not only relevant to what's going on, but that it just looks nice. Most of the rules that I've outlined in the post are to make it look nice, but
they're aesthetic.
How do you what are sort of the guidelines to linking to a GIF that is aesthetically pleasing? So I think the most important really is frame rate. Now, what I say in the post is that the frame rate should be a fraction of the NTSC. That's the National Television Standards Committee.
This is insanely specific.
Yes. Well, that was the intent. I'm an exacting man.
No less than 12 frames per second.
No less than 12 frames, because that's almost exactly half of the NTSC standard.
Right.
NTSC standard is technically 23.937 frames per second. So 12 is as close to half as you can get. Now, what you don't want to do is a fraction of the PAL standard, which is the European version of NTSC. That's 25 frames per second.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Otherwise, you don't want to use a fraction of that. Otherwise, it'll be a little sluggish.
Well, but I think you're maybe making it sound too technical when it's really not. It's just, okay, don't make shitty GIFs. But one thing that I like is the GIF should not loop backward when it's done playing. In other words, play forward and then backward. What do they call that?
Well, they call that, and this isn't just me that says this. This is all GIF experts, I believe, call it the devil's loop. When it loops forward and then loops backwards and then forwards again, because it creates this horrible illusion that that's actually looping well, when in
Right.
reality it's just like going forwards and reverse.
That would be like somebody jumping into a pool and then flying out of the pool back on the diving board.
Absolutely. It creates an illusion that it's a good loop, but in reality it's just poorly made.
Well, I like that the GIF should be emotive or otherwise pertain to the situation at hand. Sometimes people post GIFs. I may have been guilty of it at some point, of ones that are too on the nose, if you know what I mean. There's no intrigue.
No, it's just
Do you know what I mean?
I'm not really sure. I get
Well,
get
something
your-
good happens, so you post somebody jumping up and down.
Oh, I see.
Do you know
what
what
you're
I mean?
saying.
It's just too easy. Mm-hmm. There's no twist. A lot of your GIFs, your best GIFs, have had twists.
Can you point to an example of one of my best gifts?
It would be the one where I can't remember what the situation was, but there was a little statue of Jesus, and somebody
That is my
was
favorite.
somebody was pouring maple syrup, and you're just going, "What the? What? Why?" And then after like 5 seconds, it just zooms in on this maple syrup covered Jesus statue, and it says, "Sweet baby Jesus."
That's right. That's
There's
a good
twist.
one.
There was a wait. There was
That's
a little
right.
bit of a.
It wasn't on, but it was
There
on
was
Mother
intrigue.
Mary with little baby Jesus.
Yeah, it was little baby Jesus just covered in syrup, and this because it's absolutely true. I like there to be a payoff when I
Yeah.
post a GIF. Like you watch it and you don't know exactly what it's going to be. It's kind of like the Mike Tyson slowly turning his head and smiling GIF.
That's a great one. That's a
where
great
it's
one.
like there's a slow payoff and it's worth it to watch the whole GIF.
That's
It's
true.
really important.
And also, one of your rules is if a GIF war should emerge between two parties, no third party is to interfere. You need to let the war run its course.
That's absolutely correct. There's nothing more fun, in my opinion, than two people just posting GIFs in response to each other and then everyone else just watching. And I love to watch these happen. Frequently, it happens between me and you. I
that's
find,
true.
or me and Steve,
Yeah.
or Nick, perhaps. But every time I get to witness it, I just sit back and I put my arms behind my head, recline in full, and just savor the moment that's happening at the time.
This is where that GIF of Antonio Banderas
Oh,
looking at his
yeah.
computer and sitting back and just like,
When it's all finished, do you have a hankering for a cigarette or anything?
I do, actually. I've never smoked once in my life.
But you have
I-
that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Kinda like after sex, you just
can't-
kinda feel
you
like-
can't say no to that.
Yeah.
That cigarette.
well, first, okay, we need to move into this interview. This is going to be an insanely long episode, but I do want to say, number one, we need to have you back if you're willing.
Oh, I'm always willing, and it doesn't need to be about gifts either. I can talk about other things.
Well, I'm sure.
that local sports team.
You have layers.
That's right.
We can
like
dig
an
into
onion,
these layers.
and every layer makes you cry more.
But secondly, I wanted to thank you for your work as CGO these past 2 years.
Yep.
And thank you for your service to not only this company, but to this country.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It's the first time anyone's ever told that since I immigrated.
From Baston. All right, there's going to be more. Kevin, I don't envy you for this editing job.
It's all right.
And
How can you can't edit gold? You're just lowering the purity of this by editing it.
it's 24 carats, Kevin. You can't. Okay. So now, if you're ready to talk something that's maybe not quite as weird and exciting, but it's still very valuable and cool, we're going to talk now to the head of partnerships at Shopify. So now, get ready for the interview with Matt King. If you're an agency who builds websites for clients, you've probably at some point had to build an e-commerce store. And I'm sure most of you who listen to this podcast have heard of Shopify, which is an e-commerce software platform for managing online stores. What you may not know about is Shopify's expert program for design and development shops to resell Shopify and build on top of their platform. Well, I'm very pleased to introduce Mac King on the show today, who is the Shopify Plus Expert Manager. Welcome to the show, Mac.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Great to have you on. And you are calling in from Ottawa, Canada, for those who are interested to know.
Yes.
And apparently it's very hot right now.
It is. It's humid here. And Shopify headquarters are in Ottawa, Canada. Kind of a interesting place for us to be, but yeah, that's where we are.
Well, we get about half of the listeners on the show are from the States, and just from being down in the States, a lot of them believe that even in the summertime, we're still living in igloos. It's still very icy here. So
Yeah, for those of you in Texas, we do get heat here.
yeah, it is hot. So
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's incredibly hot in Ottawa. For some reason, it's humid too, which is like you can almost kind of see the moisture in the air. It's a different kind of heat.
Yeah. I have an air conditioner I run at night, and it's just like fills with water in a couple of days, which is, I don't know, crazy. But we live by the ocean here in Halifax. You guys don't have that excuse, I guess.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes, that's true. They're kind of like oceans. Okay, so tell me more about your role at Shopify. Like, how long have you been there? What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So what I usually do, or what I do, I work with partner agencies. So people who have chosen to make a business around Shopify, who have decided to either build Shopify stores, maybe create an app for the Shopify App Store, or design and develop a theme to put to Shopify's theme store. And more specifically, I work with higher volume partners on the Plus Experts side, meaning these are people who focus primarily on working with Shopify Plus customers, and Plus being Shopify's enterprise solution for e-commerce.
Right. So your experts who are just Shopify experts, they might be working with, small retailers, people who sell online in some way. The Expert Plus would be the people that are working with, what would be some of those companies that they're working with, just as examples.
Yeah, the LA Lakers on Shopify. One of the big names right now that's super current is Kylie Cosmetics. She's on Shopify and sells a lot of lipstick. She basically kind of just like tweets out a link, and it's a flash sale to her website, which is pretty amazing. I think she posted a screenshot recently of her Shopify admin, and she had 200,000 unique visitors on her site at once. And so she's currently on Shopify, definitely on the Plus plan, and other big names like ColourPop, which is also a lipstick brand. They're on Shopify as well.
I'm really curious about this. So Shopify has, long been known as being a great e-commerce platform, especially for small and mid-sized businesses. What was it where you guys saw, and maybe you weren't privy to all these conversations within Shopify, but from your standpoint, what was it where you guys sort of thought, we could get large enterprises using the product, and then, how did you need to evolve or adapt the actual software to be able to meet the needs of those larger organizations like the Lakers?
Right. Yeah, it kind of happened in reverse, actually. So what happened was, at first Shopify was created for small, medium-sized businesses. Someone with an idea wants to open up a Shopify store, get rolling. But what would happen was these businesses who started small, who started on the basic plan, paying $30 a month, ended up doing well. Like they were putting money in marketing, they were being successful online, they were selling a ton of stuff. So there wasn't something for them. Either like when they got to this certain level, doing like over $1 million of sales online, they had to choose, like, do I stay with Shopify, which kind of feels small, or do I go to a different platform? That seems like it might be better. I feel like I need more support, and I need these new features. So that's where Plus came out of. It came from the growth of the regular Shopify merchants. It came from people outgrowing what we were normally offering from our plans. So we created this new tier, Shopify Plus, and added functionality for large volume retailers, added more white glove support with account management, and it just was a natural progression for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. At what point did Shopify kind of say, okay, it's one thing for, you sell, I actually read up kind of on the history and the story of Shopify, and the founder, Tobias Lutke.
Yep.
Reminds me of Tobias Funke from Arrested Development, but I'm sure he gets that a lot. I guess he was selling surfboards or snowboards online, and kind of thought there must be a better way to do this. All the existing platforms were just not working, and so he kind of like coded up the first version on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the impression I get, Shopify was originally built for small merchants and retailers who wanted to get online. But at what point did sort of the idea come along that they go, okay, well, they're actually going to be more successful if they have a web design company or a partner helping get them all set up and guide them?
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. And I think that the sales kind of are what necessitate that. So as someone starts on Shopify, starts in the basic plan, maybe they buy a theme from the theme store, they upload their images and products into it. Anybody can do that. Anybody should do that. In fact, if you're thinking about starting a business, you should definitely do that because it's easy. But once the proof has been in the pudding, so to speak, like once you've started making sales and you're getting serious about your business and it's taking up more time in your life, that's when the need to bring in a professional comes in. It's like buying a home and then hiring an interior direct designer. Like when you're going to the next level of your business, you should probably have someone, an agency, a freelancer, doing things to make your website stand out, to help market your website, or to build custom implementations where you can get the most amount for your sales.
I agree with that, really, because Kevin and I used to run a web design agency, and when somebody comes to you and they go, "Hey, I'm starting a brand new business. I want to sell something online." I would recommend to those people, use something like Shopify. Find a theme, find something that's pretty close to what you need, and adapt it as needed. And then once you start getting some sales in the door, and you actually have the money, and you kind of have done a little bit of testing and know what's working, now's the time to bring in an agency to build you something custom. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. Either starting on Shopify and being able to build out your proof of concept, or starting something that's very common I see is people putting their proof of concept into a crowdfunding area, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and building out your product and your base there. If you have a successful crowdfunding campaign, say, oh, people actually like this thing, and then import that over to a Shopify store. Well, you're probably going to need an agency to help do that because you're going to have orders to fulfill already. But you want your website to look professional. So that's another way that I've seen it done. But yeah, bringing in an agency is typically only makes sense for people who have been able to find proof of concept, have a product that they're selling, and someone who's doing well online.
Yeah. So for people listening who often are agencies, especially in the web design development space, if they're not currently a partner, they're not reselling any kind of software, what does the expert program really look like with Shopify, and why would they want to get involved as an expert versus just kind of casually recommending it to their clients?
Right. Yeah, good question. So there's a couple different tiers of the Shopify Partner Program. So anybody can sign up as a partner. If you go to shopify.com/partners, you can make an account. Once you make a partner account, that means, if you casually recommend or bring on Shopify users as they come, you can open up a store for them, have unlimited time to develop it before pushing it live, which is great, and a feature that regular Shopify merchants aren't getting. So as a partner, you have the freedom to be able to develop something before there's a monthly bill associated with it. I think it's only 14 days for regular users, which for the casual user uploading a theme is more than enough. But if you're building something customized, you need to have the time to develop it properly. So that's part of being a partner. From there, once you hit 5 referrals through your partner account, you can apply to become a Shopify expert. And Shopify expert's cool. It's a marketplace essentially, where you can filter based on city, based on skill, based on a number of different things. And what's interesting about it is that merchants who are using Shopify are going there daily, trying to get help. There's endpoints from the Shopify documentation that lead to the expert marketplace. And the expert marketplace ranks very highly on Google as well. So people who have Shopify stores who realize they have a problem that they can't solve themselves or through the regular support channels are constantly going to the experts marketplace and seeking the help of professionals, freelancers, designers, developers, agencies, in order to make those changes for them. So what's happening is there's a lot of work requests. A lot of work gets flown through that channel, and it doesn't cost anything to be there. It's just a matter of getting those 5 referrals, deciding to focus on Shopify and becoming listed.
Yeah. To kind of back up that point, when I was looking through and doing, I was actually, it's funny, wrote a blog post a few weeks ago, it might have even been longer, about agencies partnering with software companies, and so I used Shopify as sort of one of the main examples. And I guess that was kind of how you found out about us, was you mentioned that you had read the blog, so that was kind of neat. But in the blog post, I include a video from a guy named Kurt Elster, who runs an agency called Ether Cycle. And I thought it's a good video. People should check it out. We should link to that in the show notes in case you haven't seen that post. But one thing that really struck me was the idea that he said, before, when he was just kind of a general web design company, he'd be lucky to get 6 to 10 leads a month. And that since he's become a Shopify expert, he's now getting 10 leads a day, which is more than they can handle, and that they're not even really listed as they're not one of the top Shopify experts, but it really does bring leads to their door, which is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you decide to focus on it, if you've decided to go after Shopify, especially within the experts marketplace, like it's too much. Like there's a lot of leads that can come to someone. Like Kurt's a good example. He gets 10 leads a day. So he started as a freelancer. He's now, I think, a 8-person agency, and constantly scaling. What's happened is the Shopify marketplace, the experts marketplace, has been able to let people go from 1-person shops to 8 to 10 people in a relatively short period of time. It's because the work is there. I mean, if someone is a freelancer and likes design or development, not necessarily likes knocking on doors and doing sales, the experts is a good place to be, because the leads just kind of come to you, and that's pretty sweet.
That is a huge pain point with a lot of agencies. I mean, we felt it firsthand, but also just since, running Proposify and doing this podcast, it's a constant thing that people bring up to us when we talk about what are your challenges, and almost 9 times out of 10 people say generating leads, quality leads especially. It sounds like, deciding to specialize and become a Shopify expert is one great way to alleviate that problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, Shopify is an exploding platform right now. It's a good place to hang your hat. Not only that, but it's easy to use. Your clients will love it. And you don't have to worry about the back end, the maintenance stuff that you do with other platforms. So, it's kind of a win-win. And if you want to focus in this area, a lot of work can definitely be drummed up through it.
I want people to know too that Shopify is not sponsoring this podcast. You guys aren't paying for this, so when I talk about it being great, I mean, this is back when we were doing websites for clients. This was a platform that we recommended, and this was quite a few years ago. But really, like when I had a client once come to us, and he had a site in I think a competitor of yours, Big Commerce. And oh my God, the frustration of trying to implement our custom design into that product was just enough to pull our hair out. And then we started looking at Shopify, and it was just like, you guys just let designers build what they want to build and don't lock them down. And that was, we were converts from that point on.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. And we have a design team who's very focused on our partners and very focused on people who want to make customizations and different changes. We've always kind of thought partners first and design first as a company. When you're thinking about websites in general, and you're thinking about e-commerce design, it's quite different than a regular website design. There's different things to consider, like conversion rate optimization. If you're building a website that you want eventually, each Shopify store is going to try and make a sale. So when you're designing for Shopify and for e-commerce, you need to do it in a way that's going to make the customer the Shopify merchant have success. So it's a different thing to think about, and something that our team holds quite dearly. I think that the partners who tend to work with Shopify are able to understand that quickly.
And I think even going further than, the point is to make a sale, one could argue that, a SaaS company's website ultimately wants to make a sale, but usually there's a preliminary step of starting a trial or signing up for an account or something. With an e-commerce store, it's almost like the path is a lot shorter to making a sale. Like, it's buy a product now or add it to your cart now, but ultimately you want to check out on the first session. So there's so much involved in just building an e-commerce store when it comes to like cart abandonment. How do you minimize that? People just adding stuff to their cart and then bouncing and closing the tab down. You guys have all that stuff built in to try to help guide their users to the sale right away.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's a lot of the work is done for you, and that's something that's pretty good for partners and also the actual Shopify merchant.
So just so I don't look too biased here, what do you get any people coming to you or agencies that are like, I'm thinking of partnering, but I don't want to be tied to one solution. I want to be able to, if it makes sense for my client who has a WordPress site for me to like buy a plugin or download a free plugin that has a shopping cart function, I want to be able to do that, or I want to be able to sort of be like platform agnostic. Is that a valid concern, or is that something that people ever come to you and ask you about?
Yeah, all the time, and it's totally fair. Shopify, at the end of the day, it's a platform. So there's some limitations in some areas. It's not always the right choice for every merchant. There's definitely better options for different things. So yeah, I totally understand when someone wants to be platform agnostic, but at the same time, I don't think it should entirely be up to the actual client to decide what platform they should be on. I mean, I think the partner, being the expert in that space, should have all that information to make an informed decision. So if a client comes to you and says, "Listen, I really want to be on WooCommerce because there's no monthly fee," and then list 10 different things that they want, and kind of you're thinking as the partner, well, actually Shopify is perfect for you. You should relay that information. You should tell that person, and the opposite is also the same. So it's I think as the expert, as the agency, it's your duty, or it would be to make the best informed decision, and not always just go with what the client thinks that they want at the time.
Yeah. Who do you think makes for the best partner for Shopify? And that could be the Plus program or otherwise. Who would actually listening, think, okay, this is something I should check out and get interested in?
Yeah, there's a couple different kind of models from within the Shopify partner ecosystem. So there's a couple different ways to be a great partner. Freelancers who go into expert marketplace, that's our bread and butter. That's what we kind of grew up on as a company. And freelancers built all of our old Shopify stores when Shopify was like 50,000 users. Now we're over 300,000. But that was where Shopify was earned. So like that's a great partner on itself. Now, if someone has ambitions to build an agency, to build something, to me that's exciting. Like my favorite part of my job is seeing someone go from being a freelancer to having a 10-person team and building cool projects, bringing on people who are smarter than they are or better in their particular vertical, and doing something fantastic. And so that's what I think is a great partner, and having that piece as well to find new avenues or people from other platforms. So a great partner, and the only way we track great partners is through referrals. Like that's the only thing that we can do. We give you work through your expert profile, through the Plus account managers. If someone is on Shopify Plus, they're talking to their account manager. They say, "Hey, I need this functionality." I'll pair them with a partner who I think can do that for them. So we give away a lot of work. We give more value than we ask for. But a great partner is someone who's also actively thinking and bringing in leads to Shopify, meaning Plus referrals more than anything. And that's kind of the crux of the Plus partner program. So if you want to be a Plus partner, if you're listening to this podcast or whatever, you think, "Oh, well, I'm not a freelancer anymore. We do have a 5-man team. We do have a 20-person office." If you are at a larger level, the best way to do that is to bring some people over and kind of get the attention of the Shopify team.
Let me ask this. Kyle and I had our first exposure to a partnership conference last year in Arizona with Infusionsoft. It was a real eye opener. Do you guys have conferences? Are you planning conferences for your partners?
Yeah. We had our first ever partner conference back in March in SF. It was amazing. We had, I think, there's 800 partners out from all over the world, as far as Australia, the UK, all over the States, in Canada as well. It was a blast. So it's going to happen every year in March in San Francisco. And it was just the first year, this past one, and it's really telling too. Like that's our first ever conference as a company. Shopify did a partner conference before they did a merchant conference. Like that's how important partners are, and that's how, as Shopify scales, as Shopify grows, as there's bigger merchants that are using the platform, the more partners are actually getting involved and becoming important, and there's more work. So yeah, the partner event. We called it Unite. I think it'll be called the same thing next year. Super important to us, and it's a really great event.
What benefit to an agency would be going to the conference? Do they learn new things about new features before they're released, or is it more kind of tactical stuff or strategic stuff? I guess what would somebody get out of going to the partner conference?
Yeah, good question. So there's different elements. Last year there was 3 different tracks that you could go to. One for business development, one for app development, and one for theme design. For example, the business development track, if you want to learn how to sell Shopify Plus, you want to know what Shopify Plus is, how you can approach clients with it, and how to build that into your offering. The theme design one was exactly that. New features, what we're going to launch, things that haven't been public yet. So it's kind of like this first track. You're getting an early start to something that's going to be key to our theme design and development community. So that's very interesting from that perspective. And the same thing on the app development track. If you want to build an app for Shopify's App Store, which now has over, I think, 1,200 apps from different developers across the world. How do you do that? What's the best way to connect to the API? What are some holes right now within Shopify that we think that there could be an app in? It was very informative from that perspective. But I think the actual best thing about Unite personally was everyone meeting each other. I mean, the Shopify partner ecosystem is super strong. There's a lot of people, and a lot of people who have been here for a while, who started as freelancers again, who now have agencies. And just seeing everyone in one room was a real trip, because we had never done this before. And a lot of kind of old school OG Shopify partners all in the same room at the same time, talking about stuff and seeing eye to eye. It was very, very cool.
And I think it's great. I mean, one of the many things Infusionsoft did great, which I liked, was they were very transparent on their vision. Because if you're going to invest your energy in becoming a partner, you want to know what the vision and the future brings or holds for that company. So I'm sure you guys are kind of sharing kind of where you plan to go and bring these people along for the ride, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Our CEO, so Toby, kicked off Unite last year, and actually all the Unite talks from Shopify are on YouTube. So you can find them there. It's called Unite Shopify. You'll be able to find it. But Toby kicked us off with kind of like the vision and where Shopify is heading. And then actually he did an AMA later. So the next day, Toby did an AMA, which is Ask Me Anything. They're on Reddit all the time. And where partners can just literally ask questions, anything they want. And that was really informative for a lot of people, and really kind of showed the direction. Like if you're choosing to work only on Shopify, or at least putting a large portion of your business on Shopify, whether it be an app or an agency, then you deserve to know. Like you need to know that we're actively trying to be better than we were last year. We're putting in people in the right places. We're filling the gaps. We're kind of trying to take over, and that is what's happening with Shopify. And every day it's interesting being around the offices here. You like really smart people doing really cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. And there's another benefit too, which is actually, I think it was about 6 months ago, we had a guy locally who lives here in Halifax, named Aaron Whitman, from an agency called AbleSense, and he's a Shopify expert. And one of the do you know him?
Oh, I know Aaron well. Yeah, Aaron's great.
Oh, awesome, cool. Well, one of the things that he talked about was the idea of recurring revenue, which is something that all agencies want, is instead of doing all one-off projects and sort of the cash flow issues that come from that, is can you build recurring revenue? And that's, I think, a huge benefit for partnering with a company like Shopify, is that when you build a theme or an app or both, these are build once and then just profit over time from, and it's helped him build, thousands of dollars in recurring revenue through the sale of two of his Shopify apps. And I mean, I think that's something that another reason agencies should think about that.
Absolutely. And actually, Aaron's a good example because he's doing something a little bit different. He has two apps in the Shopify App Store, but he also works on the services end and has an expert profile. So there's many partners who are doing both. I've decided to focus on Shopify. My developers and designers like Shopify. We're skilled in this. So let's build an app. And then, if a big project comes up, we'll pull some people off the app, do the project, vice versa. And Aaron's had some success with that. He's got a great app in the App Store that I think it syncs up with HubSpot, which is amazing. It's called Teleport, if anyone wants to check that out. But what's happening is that the typical agency model doesn't actually have, like you said, it's not normal to have recurring revenue, and it's nice because partners are using their recurring revenue to pay their rent, or these kind of like ongoing expenses for the agency, which is not part of a normal model. I mean, unless you're using retainers, but those are hard to come by. So yeah, it's really great.
Well, and a lot of agencies want to build their own internal apps anyway. They want to have their own SaaS products, but we've talked about this a lot of times on this show just because it's something we did. I mean, Proposify was a product that sort of spun out of Headspace, our agency. And, a lot of agencies just don't realize how much work it is to build a SaaS product internally and launch it and get feedback. And it's its own full-time job, and it's very hard to juggle both. But when you're sort of building on top of a platform, you kind of get the best of both worlds, right? You might be working with a client who goes, oh, I need Shopify to do this, which it doesn't do out of the box. Okay, well, we'll build an app for it. But then you can go ahead and, assuming the client signed off on that, you can just rebuild or resell that same solution to a problem over and over again without the headache of, trying to actually promote that app. It's on the Shopify platform. It's you don't need to do as much work to market that product.
Absolutely, yeah. I see that happen all the time, where a partner agency will use their expert profiles more like a sounding board for what comes up often, and then filling in those gaps. I've had 4 clients in the last month ask me about drop down collections, and then they go build an app for that because they get this is what makes sense. This is what people need. It's one side of the business truly informs the other one, and if the client's okay with it, if it's your IP and you've built something for them, why not package that up and then submit it to the Shopify App Store? It's truly a great proof of concept.
The other thing that I'm sure it does for you guys too is that we know firsthand when you're running a SaaS product, you get requests every day for features. Oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And sometimes it's like it's so edge case. You're just like, we're not going to build that into the product because like 2 people in the last year have asked for it. It just doesn't. You can't answer everybody's feature requests, and if you do, you're going to have a big bloated, ugly product that's good for no one. But apps, I mean, that kind of bridges the gap, right? For those handful of people, or maybe it's only 100 people that want a certain feature, there could be an app for it. But it doesn't mean that has to impact the experience for everybody using the software.
Exactly. And our mentality at Shopify, as far as the core product is concerned, is if 80% of the people are going to need this 80% of the time, then we should build that into the admin. But if not, then it's probably not going to be there. So, so when you're thinking in terms of your client context, if they want something quite obscure, that's not going to be in Shopify, but because it's helping people because it's not in Shopify, it's helping those new store owners who are overwhelmed by building their online store, who want to get something up quick and easy and prove their concept. But yeah, the apps are a great way to fill in those gaps and make sure that specific customizations in what your client wants to do can actually be achieved. And at this point on Shopify, you can find 2 or 3 variations of an app for most common holes. And that's the real beautiful thing is now there's even room based on the number of merchants, the number of people, of multiple apps in the same vertical, and just depending on preference from the actual Shopify merchant.
Cool. So somebody listening to this, they're interested. What are the next steps? How do they get started with exploring being a Shopify expert?
Yeah, the best way, is to put yourself out there. I would say, write a blog post or get involved in the Shopify forums and start kind of getting your hands dirty, looking for clients. If you want to start working with Shopify, the best way is to find someone who needs an online store and then put them on the platform. Open a partner account. Obviously, that's a great first step as well. Shopify.com/partners. And if you are an agency and if you're deciding where you should steer your ship, look to the Plus Partners area. The Plus Partner program is growing. I think we have about 45 plus experts and 20 plus partners. It's really a growth area for Shopify, the enterprise version. So if you've already have a team, if you have people, if you want a direction, the Shopify Plus Partner program could be a good fit.
Yeah. And that would be for kind of agencies that are working with larger clients who maybe their needs are quite a bit more advanced than if they're working for small shops.
Exactly. Yeah. We've actually seen a lot of Magento agencies come over recently. It's pretty interesting to kind of see this shift. And these long-time large agencies from other platforms approach us about becoming a Plus partner. It's because this is where there's a lot of work right now. I mean, we have too much work and not enough big partners. So if someone wants to get involved, we're more than happy.
Yeah, and a nice little burn to Magento too, man. That is one big behemoth. I've looked into that in the past, and I'm sure it worked for a long time, but that is a complex, large product.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you don't want to slam the competition. You've got more class than that. I don't, but.
Yeah, I mean, we have a campaign right now. I mean, I'm not extremely familiar with Magento. All I can say is what I've seen, from partners, which is like a shift in us getting approached. We do have a campaign out right now, which is a good selling point for partner agencies. If you have someone who's on Magento who you'd like to move off, Shopify Plus is offering 6 months free of Shopify Plus and a free data migrations. That's orders, products, and customers. If someone's coming from Magento.
That's awesome. Okay, people should definitely check that out. So cool getting to talk to you, Mac. And I swear to the listeners, I have not been paid. There's been no dirty money exchanged. I legitimately believe Shopify is a great platform, and if you build e-commerce for clients, for yourself, it's something that you should check out. So thanks again for being on the show, Mac.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate being given the opportunity, guys, and come talk about Shopify, which is what I love doing. And it's funny that you did this because I hear great things from partners about your tool, about Proposify, about the customization options too. I know there's a Shopify Plus expert based in Vancouver called Satel Creative, Hossein and Jen, if you're listening, hello. But they use Proposify, they love it. So you guys have a great tool as well.
I'm not sure. You may not even know this, Mac, but we actually have a template, I think maybe even a couple templates that are written specifically for selling e-commerce using Shopify. We've had that for well over a year. So it's not just an e-commerce proposal template, it's a Shopify proposal template.
Very cool.
Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Thanks, Mac. Thanks for listening to this episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. If you enjoyed it, we'd appreciate it if you rate and or review us on the iTunes Store. If you have a story or lesson to share with other agency owners and managers from around the world, hit us up. Just email Kyle or Kevin at proposify.biz. And also, if you write business proposals and you want to make that process a whole lot easier and more streamlined, check out proposify.biz and sign up for a free 30-day trial. Cheers!